She stood beside the aircraft, ... not moving, not speaking, just waiting. But when everything failed, only two people moved. The morning light hadn't fully broken yet, but the hangars were already alive, not frantic, optimized. Voices from command floated calmly across loudspeakers, translated in sequence through 4 NATO dialects. Everything was scripted, clean, predictable. But under that polished rhythm, something stirred. Not a threat. Not yet, just an unease that only a few could sense. Lieutenant Ava Kingsley held her helmet by the chinstrap, gloves tucked under her arm, watching the diagnostic screen glow inside the cockpit. Her jet, fresh off calibration, was ready. Cleaner than most. Smarter, too. The AI assistant purred in its clipped accent, systems green, no errors. She didn't smile at that. She rarely did. Her scores in sim had quietly outpaced the French captain she was shadowing, but she'd never said it aloud. Numbers didn't matter. Not out here, not yet. Just beyond Bay 5, hidden partly by an old tow rig, Captain Reagan Shaw knelt under the wing of a legacy-configured F-16, her hands streaked with old grease, sealant from a past life. She wasn't prepping for the exercise. She wasn't even supposed to fly. Not anymore. Reagan moved with a kind of silence that only came from experience. She didn't check diagnostics. She listened, the kind of listening no machine could teach. Her aircraft smelled of age, heat, polymers, resin, and something else, something grounded, burned in oil, worn-out memory. This jet wasn't clean, it wasn't smart, but it was hers, and that would matter. Sooner than anyone knew, the exercise command tent buzzed like a server room, screens mapping every movement. Flight paths, intercept, corridors, everything simulated, everyone aligned. But then, a flicker. First on one screen, then another. Lines froze. HUDs blinked, radar pulses stuttered mid-sweep. Inside cockpits, pilots sat upright, confused, waiting for the refresh, waiting for the AI to fix it. Nothing came. In 10 seconds, the entire network collapsed. No GPS, no radar, no comms. The skies above Europe went dark. Inside the tent, instructors scrambled toward printed protocols, flipping through laminated binders, like relics from another era. No one knew what to say. And outside, on the concrete, Ava Kingsley waited, helmet in hand, hands frozen. There were no commands now, no confirmation, just static and silence. Reagan didn't hesitate. She climbed into her jet, one foot on the ladder, one hand on the harness. The startup lever clicked under her glove, old school and stubborn. The engine coughed once, then caught. No interface, no voice control. Just fuel, steel, and muscle memory. Ava saw it all through the canopy. She wasn't strapped in. Her jet was still running diagnostics, waiting for an uplink that would never come. Then a voice cracked over backup shortwave, low and even. "Get in. Bring your gloves." Ava blinked. "Captain, the tower. It's not there down. Your systems are blind. Mine aren't. Get in." That was the moment. Not a dramatic leap. Not some slow-motion sprint. Just a decision. A clarity that cracked through the fog. Ava ran to the nearest bird. It wasn't hers. Didn't matter. The HUD was dead. Radar showed nothing, but it had fuel, and sometimes that's enough. Inside her cockpit, her hands fumbled slightly. Gloves on, harness clipped. The familiar hum of startup felt different without the AI voice in her ear. There was no plan, no directive, just motion. 2 jets rolled from the hangar. Others stayed grounded, frozen. Pilots with better aircraft, newer weapons, still waiting for a signal that wouldn't come. Reagan didn't wait. She pushed throttle. And Ava followed. No fanfare, no tower clearance, just the dry roar of engines against a dead frequency. They lifted into the pale dawn sky. Like ghosts no one had summoned. No one but themselves. The first rays of light spilled through the overcast, casting the contrails in long slashes of scarlet and ash. They flew into silence. Not training now. Not theory. This was field. And trust. The sky above the ridge was thinner now, quieter. No digital noise, no data feed, only the low, mechanical hum of pressure against metal. Reagan Shaw's F-16 moved like it remembered something, a habit etched into every rivet. Her left hand, trimmed manually, making micro-corrections that most wouldn't notice. She didn't need a radar return. The landscape was her gauge. The map taped to her canopy fluttered slightly, holding steady despite the turbulence. Beside her, Ava Kingsley flew blind. Her HUD flickered again, then died completely. The targeting suite that once painted crisp vectors now offered nothing, just a dull gray wash where terrain should be. Her breath fogged the inside of her visor, gloves too thick, nerves too loud. She reached to reset the nav package. No response. Flying, in the dark, not just the sky, but the silence. A silence where doubt echoes louder than engine roar. She checked Reagan's position, steady, perfect, not 1 inch of hesitation. Ava adjusted her nose, trying to match altitude. She overcorrected. The jet wobbled slightly. She cursed under her breath. She knew Reagan had seen it, but the older pilot said nothing, not even a glance. That hurt more than words. The distance between them grew, then slowly closed again. Ava exhaled, shaky. It wasn't fear. Not exactly. It was something colder, shame, but she kept flying. They passed over broken rock formations, jagged like fractured teeth. Shadows crawled across the ridge lines, making every surface blend into the next dot. Then Ava saw it, a shape low, fast, moving east to west. No call sign, no strobes, no friendly ping. Her thumb hovered over the weapon switch. She flipped it halfway. The HUD sparked once. A reticle blinked to life. She locked on, but just before she fired, tap, tap, tap. A rhythm echoed through the shared control rail, metal on metal. 1, 2, pause. Then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Morse. A warning. Her eyes snapped to Reagan's aircraft. No change in speed, but Reagan's right hand tapped the throttle again. Calm and deliberate. Ava froze. She looked again at the silhouette. Something clicked. The tail config, the angle, the intake shape. A legacy patrol bird. NATO. Fallback flight. Pattern. Friendly. She'd almost fired on her own. Ava's stomach dropped. She flipped the switch back to safe, slumped slightly in her harness. No excuses. There were none. And Reagan, still silent. Ava's hands trembled once, then steadied. That silence was her consequence. Minutes passed. The rhythm of flight returned. Wind, vibration, engine hum. Then, through the fallback circuit, Reagan's voice cut in. Low, steady, unforgiving. You weren't trained for this, Ava. Swallowed. No, ma'am. It's not your fault, Reagan said. A pause. But stop pretending. Ava blinked. Her mouth was dry. She didn't apologize, didn't explain, just whispered, cuffed, and pulled in tighter. The land below began to level, flatlands bleeding into brush and scrub. No lanes. No radar marks. Just instinct. Ava studied the distance between Reagan's tail and the horizon line. She mimicked the spacing, matched the angle, and for the first time in 15 minutes, her trim held. She reached down and unclipped the kneeboard strapped to her thigh, pulled out a stub pencil, made 2 notes, flight spacing, roll offset. Then she sketched it, Reagan's posture in the turn. Not pretty, but hers. Her first map without AI. Without guidance. Reagan never looked back. She didn't need to. Then the world ahead shifted. 3 aircraft emerged from tree-lined black silhouettes. No strobes, no signals. Flying low, flying intentional. Their formation was razor clean. No drift, no hesitation. Ava tried to ping. Nothing. Her breath hitched. They're not ours, Reagan said, voice flat. Ava didn't reply. She didn't have to. The sky was going cold now, the rich reds of dawn bleeding into gunmetal gray. Up here, there was no noise, just 2 jets, and something moving that didn't belong. Reagan watched without urgency. Posture steady. Ava tried to read her, not just her words, but her quiet. That quiet told her everything she needed. This wasn't training anymore. This was real. And the people in the shadows, they weren't guessing. They were executing. The enemy formation didn't climb, didn't twitch. They were committing to the corridor, the one gap in the net wide, enough to vanish a war. Reagan peeled the bottom strip of her chart and pressed it to the panel beside the circled a margin point. Ava asked, "What are we looking at?" Reagan didn't answer right away. She marked the map, closed her pen. Something that shouldn't be flying here. That was all she said. And up ahead, the ghosts kept moving, quiet, clean, and impossibly confident. Ava felt it in her chest now. That silent truth. They weren't flying to be seen. They were flying because they knew. No one else could see them, except her and Reagan. The 3 aircraft ahead began to climb, not sharply, not with panic, just enough. It was a motion too smooth to be accidental. Reagan watched the line of ascent like she was reading a sentence in a forgotten language. No spikes, no speed bursts, just controlled elevation in a pattern no longer taught. Ava adjusted her visor. Tried one more ping. Still nothing, no radar, no confirmation, only silence and motion. The jet's matte skin absorbed most of the morning light. No reflection, no signature, but there was no denying the way they moved. Reagan blinked. Her canopy glass caught a brief streak of cloud. She recognized the maneuver, not from a sim, but from a chalkboard. She'd once sketched this exact flight path on a war college wall. A radar-evading climb that slipped between surveillance nets like water through fractured glass. It had been removed from doctrine years ago. Analog.2. Slow to teach, but someone had remembered, and now those ghosts were using it to vanish. Inside a hole no one was watching. Reagan didn't say a word. She didn't need to. Beside her, Ava stared hard through her fogged visor. She saw the movement, but not the meaning. She knew something was wrong, but not why. It chilled her blood. Her hands gripped the throttle, unsure whether to chase or hold. Everything in her training screamed, wait for clarity. But clarity was gone. There was only feel now. Reagan shifted trim slightly, a micro-adjustment by muscle memory. No words. Then one of the enemy aircraft peeled left. The other drifted lower toward the basin's edge, splitting formation, controlled separation, not retreat, not panic. Tactical evasion. Her voice returned, soft. They're locking into a blind corridor. We won't get another look. Ava didn't respond. Her mouth had gone dry again. She hated how quiet her own breath sounded inside the helmet. Then Reagan reached up and peeled part of the chart from her canopy, folded it downward with one gloved hand. The paper crackled faintly, like memory waking up. She circled a point, pressed the strip flat beside the altimeter. Her voice didn't rise. We hold this line. Ava nodded without knowing why. It just felt right. And up ahead, the ghosts broke again. Two vanished south, slipping into a false telemetry path. Their vectors dissolved into the horizon like a lie well told. The third turned east, toward the exposed corridor. Ava adjusted throttle to stay with Reagan. No cue was given, no command, but she moved anyway. The terrain beneath them shifted, trees rising like frozen flame as they dipped into lower air. A gust slammed Ava's left wing. The aircraft rolled, almost uncontrollably. Nose tilted toward stall. Her breath caught. No HUD, no level assist. No save system. Only hands. She gripped too hard, overcompensated. The jet trembled under her. Then, tap, tap, pause, long knock, short, long. The trim correction code again. She looked down. The diagram Reagan had drawn earlier. Manual trim for asymmetric lift. She followed it. Half step left, one clockwise roll. Balanced. The jet steadied. Not because of AI, because she remembered, because someone taught her the old way, with lines, diagrams, and feel. Reagan dipped first into the canyon. No comes. No announcement. Just action. The walls closed in quickly, steep, irregular, the light vanishing almost instantly under rock shadow. It wasn't just terrain now. It was judgment. It was nerve. It was nerve. Ava followed, hands trembling once as she shifted pitch. Her altimeter twitched once, twice, then went blank. She flew anyway, only instinct, only angles, no radar grid, no waypoint. Just motion, and the low memory of flight school exercises taught by someone like Reagan. They didn't fly fast, they flew smart. The enemy split again. One climbed, one dove. A textbook bait move. Draw the defenders apart, then loop, out clean. Ava tracked the upper one. Reagan stayed low. Ava climbed just enough to see over the ridge, and there, a shadow moving fast, cutting high, close to the lip of the canyon, so close, too fast. The afterburn lit once. That was all it gave her. No lock. No rangefinder. Just timing. Ava didn't wait for permission. She matched the arc, calculated the intercept by gut. Nose down, trajectory, lean, adjust pitch, manually. No systems. Just eyes and pressure. The enemy pilot didn't see her. Too fast, too proud. She fired. No one told her to, no one needed to. The missile detached with a mechanical clack, quiet at first. Then, pure fire. It struck true, not spectacular, just final. The impact vanished into haze, smoke curling around canyon walls. A low bloom of force and debris. Ava's jet trembled slightly. Burn-off streaked her wingtip. She wiped at her visor instinctively. Still clean. Still flying. Fox 2, she said softly. No reply. No need. Behind her, Reagan pulled up from the lower canyon. Flying clean. Flying silent. She hadn't said a word through the whole chase. Didn't need to. She saw Ava fall in. Tighter now. Not staggered. Shoulder to shoulder. They flew back into daylight. Higher air. Clearer sky. The last enemy shape had vanished east. But they followed. Fuel. Low. Systems dead. No. Orders. Only the map. Only the feel. And the rhythm they now shared. The sky flattened ahead. A sheet of pale steel stretched over rolling earth. Below. The final corridor opened wide. No obstacles now. No cliffs. Just smooth, invisible lanes cut through low-pressure air. And out there, near the edge of radar history, flew the last hostile jet. Reagan didn't accelerate. She stayed level. She could see the line now. Not on a screen. Not on a map. In the way the clouds bent, the way wind shifted across the tail, that enemy jet was cutting for the boundary. The political border that wouldn't stop a bullet but would stop a command. If he made it there, he vanished. No pursuit. No intercept. That's what this had been. A run. Not to strike, but to test. Test the seams. Test the silence. And he'd almost made it. Ava saw the distance on her fuel gauge. Not critical, but no comfort. One more afterburn, and she'd be past safe return. One more burst, and she'd need a tow home if there was one. But she didn't slow. COULD. And single quotes. She felt it now. The responsibility of the silence. No drones. Above. No radar, net below. No command in her ear. She was it not because she wanted to be. Because no one else could move. Reagan toggled her backup display. Just to check fuel. Her eyes didn't flinch when she saw the level. It didn't matter. She wasn't here to return. She was here to finish. And Ava knew it. That knowledge sat in her chest like ice. This wasn't a two-way flight anymore. The enemy jet shifted right, correcting for wind drift, a subtle arc, confident, practiced. He wasn't just running, he was watching. Av adjusted trim. She could feel the tension in her own shoulders now. Not fear, not exactly. Something deeper. The weight of being seen, of being expected. She rolled, slowly left, giving Reagan space to press the line. That's when Reagan did something Ava didn't expect. She slowed by choice, just enough for Ava to move ahead. Not a command, not a signal, just space. Ava hesitated. One breath. Then she edged forward. One wingtip length, then another. Reagan stayed just behind her now, not leading, following like passing a torch without saying the words. The gesture wasn't grand, but Ava felt it like thunder. She pushed throttle. Wind clawed at the jet. No guidance, no lock tone. She'd have one shot. Manual tracking. Dead reckoning. The enemy saw her now. Banked hard, a perfect counter-turn. Exact throttle trim. Ava adjusted pitch. Not too much. Not this time. She tracked him without tech. Without AI. Just memory. Just instinct. This wasn't the sim. Wasn't the safe schoolhouse air. This was earned. Then the final moment. Ava's finger hovered on the release. Her brain screamed 1,000 calculations. Timing. Closure. Speed. Range. But her hand didn't shake. Not this time. She pressed. The missile slipped. Free. No fanfare. No AI confirmation. Just motion. Then light. The enemy jet exploded in silence. No sound at this distance. Just a bloom of white fire curling across pale sky. Smoke dragging into wind like a brushstroke. Ava banked out of it. Not hard. Not fast. Just smooth. Controlled. The way Reagan had flown. When she looked back, Reagan was still there. Just behind. Her. Still flying. Still watching. She hadn't intervened. Hadn't corrected. Only trusted. And in that silent space, Ava found something heavier than glory. Something colder than pride. Responsibility. They didn't speak on the way back. Didn't need to. The silence between them wasn't empty. It was full of choice, of cost, of knowing that what you destroy doesn't always stay gone. And what you protect doesn't always survive clean. The base came into view like a half-forgotten dream. Gray hangars, windswept, asphalt, the kind of quiet only found in places built to house noise. Reagan touched down first, wheels scraping the tarmac with surgical calm. No bounce, no flare, just arrival.ava followed. Hands steady on final. Approach. Not perfect, but clean. She felt every vibration through the yoke as her wheels kissed ground. Not hard, not soft, just real. The weight of it sank through her. She taxied without thought, following Reagan's shape as it rolled across the apron, toward the shelter line. One by one, maintenance crews emerged from the side buildings. No applause, no ceremony. Just glances, some confused, some unreadable. A few heads turned toward Ava. They had no idea, and somehow, that made it worse. When the canopies opened, the sky above them was pale. Not gold, not fire-washed like before, just gray. Reagan didn't climb outright. Away. She sat still for several seconds, hands on her lap, helmet still on, like she wasn't sure the flight was over. Like maybe it never would be. Ava stepped down first, boots touching the ramp with a dull thud. A tech moved toward her. She waved him off. No post-flight. Not yet. She turned, and for the first time, looked directly at Reagan. No visor, no canopy between them, just eyes. Reagan finally stood. Unbuth stepped down the ladder. The sound of her boots echoed once on the steel step. She walked over, slowly, didn't speak. Ava's throat tightened. She opened her mouth, but no words came. Reagan just looked at her, studied her posture, the way her shoulders carried something new, not broken, just heavier. Then without preamble, Reagan handed her something. A scrap of paper, torn from the old kneeboard, one of the diagrams Ava had sketched in flight, trim control offset, labeled by hand. Reagan had kept it. Ava stared at it, didn't know what to say. Reagan just said, "You're ready." That was it, and turned away. Ava stood there. Alone now. The wind picked up slightly, brushing across her flight suit, tugging at the edges of the paper in her hand. Ready. She wasn't sure what that meant anymore. She hadn't just flown a sortie, she'd flown a silence, carried the weight of decisions with no witnesses, and made one choice that ended a life. She'd never know. There'd be no medal, no news, just a line in a report someone might redact. Maybe one sentence. Intercept successful. Target neutralized. But behind that sterile phrasing lived a truth she couldn't unsee. A quiet war was already happening, and she was in it now. 3 hours later, the debriefing room felt colder than the airstrip. No windows. Just flat walls and dull lighting. The kind of room designed to remove opinion. Reagan sat across the table, helmet on the floor beside her, gloves tucked into one another. She hadn't spoken since touchdown. No need. The recorder clicked on. A major read from a screen. Flight time, coordinates, engagement, TIMESTAMP. Every word was clinical, every phrase scrubbed of meaning. Then came the final question. Confirm whether hostile intent was visually verified prior to weapons release. Ava didn't speak right away. She remembered the way that enemy jet had banked, the way it moved. Not aggressive, not scared, just precise. Confident. She thought about what that meant, and how little it changed. Yes, she said quietly. Visual confirmation achieved. The major nodded, pressed a key. The recorder clicked off. That was it. Outside, the sky had shifted again, softer now, bruised with dusk, the kind of color that never stays long. Reagan stood beside the hangar, arms crossed, jacket zipped against the chill. Ava stepped beside her. For a long moment, neither said a word. Then Ava finally asked, "Was it right?" Reagan didn't look at her, just stared into the sky, like she was reading something far off. "No," she said, "but it was necessary." Ava nodded, barely. Then, softer, "What if they come again?" Reagan exhaled slowly. "They will." Silence. Again. Not empty, just waiting. Ava glanced back at the hangar. The jets sat under shadow, still warm, still carrying the scent of flame and sky. Then she looked down at her hands. No tremble. Now. Just memory. And the quiet ache of someone who's seen too much, and still has more to do later that night, in her quarters. Ava opened her logbook. She flipped to a blank page. Didn't write a mission code. Didn't log her fuel burn. Instead, she drew a line, just one, across the center of the page. Flight path. Simple. Unbroken. She stared at it for a long time. Then below it, she wrote, "We were the only ones who saw it, and we said nothing." Outside, the wind picked up again, Somewhere in the dark, past the horizon, past the reach of radar, other ghosts were moving. Quiet, precise, watching. The war hadn't begun. It had simply stepped out of view, and in the space where silence lives, warriors were already choosing their side.